Hey, what is going on, everyone? So today we have seen some pretty big changes on the PTR, especially to Necrolord Warrior. There's a whole bunch of other changes which I may cover in a later video, but I think people are most interested, and I'm most interested in Conqueror's Banner, right? Conqueror's Banner, Flashcraft, these abilities have been changed, and they're considerably better, in my opinion. But let's firstly talk about what it was before, because I feel like not many people ever used this. Maybe used it when you're leveling in the campaign. But, beforehand, it was a 3-minute cooldown, right? And you put down this banner, which gave about 20% maximum health, about 8k health if you're max gear, 10% crit, and for you and two allies within 15 yards. 15 yards is very, very small. For reference, that's probably a bit under it's about half your charge range or something, right? Something like that. It's not that much space. So definitely something that was very limited in applicability. I think people originally thought this could be good in the meta with TSG and stuff like that, right? You plant this down, everybody gets gripped in, you do big damage, you're giving damage to the DK, stuff like that. And you had this thing called Glory as well. So when you killed enemies or you spent rage, you got 1% crit, and that would stack up to 30% crit. So you got 20 rage. I mean, you're probably spending 20 rage a second or something generally. So maybe at that 30-second mark, you've got 30% crit on top of that, but then the banner's down. So there's probably a crossover point with the old banner at 20 seconds where you had 30% crit because of the banner plus the glory factor, and then at the end of the 30 seconds that you got, you might have had close to 30% crit. If you had 100% uptime, you're spending range really efficiently. So this was a very meh ability. Firstly, it's 3-minute cooldown. That's super long for a warrior CD. I don't think there's no offensive warrior cooldowns that have a 3-minute cooldown. So that's one issue. That just desyncs with everything. Doesn't link up with any of your other abilities very nicely. The other thing was the yards, right? The yards were annoying, right? Because you plan it down, and obviously when you use your cooldowns, people tend to move away from warriors. So the second you plant that down and you move out of that banner range, then this banner is absolutely useless, completely nullified. So yeah, very, very meh ability. And even the health and the crit chance, this glory mechanic, it's probably an average of giving you 20% crit on 3-minute cooldown and some health. The other thing to look at, let me undo that and go this way, is Flashcraft, right? So Flashcraft before, you channel it over 4 seconds and you get 20% of your maximum health, right? And with the Necrolord Covenant ability, you couldn't be CC. That's not changed. But now when we switch back into the PTR, right, we have the two new abilities, right? Flashcraft, firstly. Now when you're channeling it, firstly, it's a 3-second spell, right? And it's a 2-minute cooldown. I think that's the same. But the 3 seconds, so instead of being 4, you get 3, and you get 40% of your maximum health for 2 minutes. That's pretty big, right? Firstly, it's pretty big. And while you're channeling it, you get a damage reduction. So it doesn't feel bad to just press this when you're in trouble. Especially a lot of times, maybe a rogue and a mage are setting up on you. You press this, right? And you have, where is it? Plague Divisor, you have Ultimate Form, which makes you immune to CC while you're channeling it. And, you get the 30 seconds of crowd control immunity after the channel. So you have 6 seconds of crowd control immunity, which is kind of nerfed with the shorter time of casting Flashcraft, but still better to have the extra shield and the damage reduction. So you get the damage reduction and you get the 40% shield. And 40% shield actually feels pretty different. Firstly, when you channel it, 3 seconds and you have a 15.5k shield, which is pretty considerable, right? And you have the damage reduction while you're casting it. So that's a nice shield. That makes your effective health right now 55k or something, right? 53k. That's pretty nuts. But then when you link that up with this Ultimate Form, it is actually quite a powerful signature ability, like the secondary signature ability. And I think, if you consider that Banner's probably not as good as Spear and not as good as Condemn, even with the buffed one, I just don't think it will be. Maybe it will be in certain comps, but I feel like the Flashcraft is making up for it now, and it's sort of carrying its weight. Because before Flashcraft was like a nothing ability, now having that 40% shield CC reduct actually makes a difference. So that's one point, right? The second point is a new banner. The new banner gives you 400 mastery and 30% increased movement speed to you and two allies, right? And it's on a 2-minute cooldown. So firstly, you can't be reduced below 100%. So essentially, you're kind of unslowable, kind of like Death's Advance for a DK. And you get the 4 rage per second, right? So you get 60 rage across using this, which is a nice added bonus. 400 mastery translates to probably say, I think my mastery would probably go to 25%, 26%. So about a 12% damage increase from the mastery bonus, but also you give that to 2 allies. And it's on your back, right? So you can move around with it. I'm not sure what the range is here because they don't actually say the range. So it could be one of those things where you just have it on. Like when you have it on, everybody gets it. I haven't tested the range yet. I haven't really seen many other people around the PTR. It's pretty early. But I imagine the range is pretty good, and regardless, you can move with it. So it's much, much better. When you link this up with this Conduit Veterans Repute, obviously this is 1451, it's PTR, couldn't fill the whole thing out. And you get 10% extra strength from using it. And then if you want to go, I guess, really bursty and get more, you can use Lead by Example, which I think was tuned down a bit, but essentially with 2 other people there, you're getting 9% extra strength, and you get 5% strength up to 4 nearby allies' primary stat by 2%. Okay, so it increases their abilities for 2%, and then you get 2% extra for each ally affected, so it's like 9% for 30 seconds. That's pretty big, right? Because if we look at like the PvP trinket, it's 204 primary stat on use. With that ability, you're getting roughly like 130, I guess, with max gear and strength and stuff like that. And I think that's going to be a pretty considerable difference because then you're actually getting quite a bit of burst out. You're giving primary stats to your allies and you're unslowable. So let's test out how this feels, right? When you press the banner, you start to move pretty quick, right? It's kind of hard to like peel you off, and it's on your back the entire time. And your damage is actually pretty good. Like just swinging like normally. Obviously, I'm on a PvE dummy. I'll hit the PvP one after this. Your damage just feels nice. It feels like it's actually pretty considerable difference. And obviously, you don't have the crazy crit. Maybe you'd run a different like stat build as Necro. I'm not sure. I feel like you'd still go haste verse. But you're getting a lot more out of this ability. And the fact that you can, channel the Flashcraft is pretty big too, right? Because then you get that 30% damage reduct, you get some benefit if you're in a route or something, or you're trying to avoid CC. It feels definitely like a big upgrade. I think the fact that it gives 400 mastery to your allies as well is a pretty big deal, because, I'm not sure if Rets and DKs get, like, I know Unholy DKs get a lot from mastery, but I'm not sure how much Frost and Rets get out of it. It could be pretty big, which is where I could probably see people playing Necrolord the most, to kind of buff their teammates and do big goes. Pretty much any class that scales really well mastery is going to like Conqueror's Banner, because 400 mastery is definitely not insignificant, right? Definitely gives you a lot extra. The 30% movement speed is nice too. A lot, obviously, because it feels like you're brandishing the banner and you're pushing in, right? You're pushing into the team. It's very hard for the enemy team to peel you off, etc., right? You're just constantly, you're coming in, nobody else can be slowed on your team, and you're giving them movement speed so they're all running in. And I guess you could use it to run out as well, but that doesn't necessarily feel good. Do I think it's better than Kyrian? No. Do I think it's better than Venthyr? No. Do I think it's probably on the same level as Nightfey now? Probably. A few awkward things, right? Firstly, it has a 2-minute cooldown, and your main thing, Avatar, has a 1.5-minute cooldown, right? Your kind of big damage here. And Warbreaker has a 45-second cooldown. So if you think about it like this, right? So you can use one go. You can use Avatar, Warbreaker, and Banner, and you can do Big Dam. And you get a lot of strength, right? Especially with the unused trinket and the conduit. I'm 66 2 strength, and you see my like normal abilities. That's a slam hitting for 4K. That's a normal Mortal Strike crit 13k feels pretty strong. But I think the issue is that my Warbreaker is going to come off cooldown in what 45 seconds. So the second Warbreaker that comes off, I'm not going to have it, right? That's fine. The next Warbreaker, I probably won't have it as well, right? Because we have, I guess there's three 45-second windows, cooldown windows. I'm not sure exactly how much of overlap it is because the banner is up for some time. But I'm pretty sure you would be a couple seconds off at least, right? Which isn't necessarily the best thing because you kind of want to use your offensive cooldowns on cooldown because you get more value out of it as a warrior. The other thing is the avatar, right? On a 1.5 minute cooldown, you get one with the banner, and then you have to wait. You have to be 4.5 minutes into the game for your avatar and your Conqueror's banner to line up. Is it that important to have avatar for your go with the Conqueror's banner? Maybe not, because you actually are giving a buff to your team too. So overall, it's like 1200 mastery for your team, and that can have varying effects depending on what you're playing with. If you're playing with a Resto Chamois, then 400 mastery is actually really good for them too. That gives them a lot more healing when you're lower at health, which could be good if they're pumping out heals. For Paladin, not so much. For other classes, obviously, it all varies. So I think it's a lot better. I think the fact that it's on your back, firstly, is a huge improvement. I think you could probably go even a little bit further without being overpowered. I think if this was a 1.5 minute cooldown, it would be really nice. It'd be really good. But at 2 minutes, it's just a bit clunky. And that's how crazy bad the old Conqueror's banner was, right? It was on a 3 minute cooldown, and like it gave you crit. And even now, a 2 minute cooldown with like a better effect, and it's on your back, arguably better effect. I mean, instead of giving you 10% crit, it gives you like 400 mastery, and instead of giving you 20% extra health, you get 30% increased movement speed. I feel like it's a different thing. Like old banner didn't really make much sense because why would you need extra health when you're bursting? A lot of the times you're kind of fine. And then if you use that ability when you're low health, then you don't have your burst ability, right? And everyone else does. So questionable for sure. So yeah, I think at 1.5 minute cooldowns, and this lines up with Avatar, and that lines up with Warbreaker, that would actually be really nice because every second Warbreaker you're doing is going to be a huge amount of burst, right? And then every Avatar is like huge damage too, and for your team. At 2 minutes, I think it might be a little bit clunky, right? Because your Avatar and your Colossal Smash are going to be out of sync with the banner unless you hold them, and then holding them isn't necessarily the best thing to do when you're trying to maintain uptime. The other thing I think is a bit kind of clunky is that every other, like apart from Night Fae, I guess it's not super clear. I feel like Night Fae can still run Unhinged though pretty well. I feel like every other class has like a pretty easy legendary they can apply in each situation. So like if you're Venthyr, you can run Exploiter, you can run Seifus, which is pretty good, and you can run even Unhinged and Misshapen Mirror. Like obviously you can run these two as Necrolord, but you don't have like a signature legendary. So like I feel like Kyrian Unhinged is so signature, like it really synergizes with your kit. Exploiter synergizes with Venthyr kit. I'm not sure which ability here would which legendary would necessarily sync up best with what you're doing. I guess potentially Seifu's, obviously, just because it's baseline pretty good. But, I'm not sure exactly what legendary I'd play. I'd probably play Seifu's because it's the most balanced. In terms of comps, yeah, I think TSG or like cleave comps where the other melee has trouble getting to the target, definitely would be good, right? Um, like because you're giving 30% extra speed. And I mean, I guess the mastery for Rets kind of does synchronize well. You get extra holy damage. Maybe if there's any Ret mains and stuff like that, you can let me know. Is that a big deal? How much like is 500 mastery going to make you do considerable amount more damage? Because I can see this synchronizing really well with Ret, because Ret has issues a lot of the times with mobility. You're giving them like essentially a freedom, right? And you can still be rooted though, but whatever. You're essentially giving them a freedom, you're giving them movement speed, and they can kind of catch up to a target and sync up, and then they get the extra mastery benefit too, and strength if you run that. So I'm thinking that could be a potential op. And then if you play like Ret Warrior Arsham, then the Arsham gets benefit from the mastery bonus too. So pretty good ability. The 4 rage is nice too. Gives you a bit of stuff. So yeah, I think these changes are really cool. Firstly, I didn't expect Blizzard to be so flexible on, I guess the the Covenant abilities, like buffing this. I think on a previous video, I kind of talked about it and said, look, this is kind of what Conqueror's Banner needs. And then I think this is kind of what I'm not saying that was original. Everyone's been saying the same stuff. Needs to be on your back, needs to have better benefits, lower cooldown, and they're implementing that pretty fast actually. So I'm really impressed with these changes. I think it makes Necrolord a lot better for warriors because right now you pick Necrolord, it's pretty much the garbage option. It's the worst, right? But now it's actually pretty good. So, some things that would love to hear from you guys. What do you think would synergize best with this new banner? 400 mastery? Are they classes I'm not thinking about that get heaps out of mastery, especially 400 mastery, right? Uh, and what do you think of the Flashcraft ability? Do you reckon that'll be awkward or pretty good? I'm thinking it'd be pretty good at 3 seconds. Like that seems pretty good, and you get the CC reduc as well. You can't be CC during it. I feel like you can line that up as a really strong peel, and even then you can run Emini if you don't really get too much value from that, which can give you some movement speed, and not too much else. You can get the Flashcraft while moving, all this kind of stuff. So I do think it's pretty cool. I think Oozless Frictionless Coating is pretty good too. Just a baseline shield, which you get from Necrolord. And I haven't really looked into this section yet. I don't think it's too good. But um, generally, I think Necrolord is back on the cards. Maybe with some buffs, maybe with some further changes. I think if they touch Kyrian or they touch Venthyr with nerfs, we could see Necrolord pull ahead. But at the moment, um, not too sure about that one. Not too sure about that one. All right, guys. Hope this was useful. Kind of made this pretty quickly because I just wanted to get that out there, and it's pretty exciting to see. And I will see you all later.